All right, cool. Welcome to Council Club, everybody. Thank you for being here. It is Thursday, September 9th. Somehow I do not understand how fast time's going. Anyway, we're going to be talking about the agenda for Tuesday, the 14th, the City Council agenda, which I usually will post a link. Actually, through the link tree, there's always just like a standing link from the link tree that will attach, or it will take you to the city's website that has the council agendas, and a place that some delightful person who has a fake name has put it in the chat. Thank you. And so, yeah, so you can always kind of take a look on your own, and then we discuss what's going on. So we'll just jump right into it. All right. Oh, and as per usual, like if you have questions, you can hop off mute anytime. You can raise your hand. You can use the little reaction to raise your hand. There's not any rules except for be kind to everyone. We're all learning together. There's no such thing as a stupid question. So yeah, we're just going to digest the agenda together and hope to find some action items and ways to influence the city for better and hold our leadership accountable. So the agenda, the first couple things that jumped out, aside from, I guess like the very first is always about what?
No. Yeah.
Planning stuff. So we will see if items, like 7 through, I guess it's 7 through 14 is a bunch of, what would you like to do?
I want to see. I just see
it's fun to be running the computer together. What would you like to see?
Just to see R4s to
higher density stuff a lot of times.
Oh, R2 to R4.
Yeah.
R4 to R5. R3 to R5. R4 to, yeah.
Anyway, it's a bunch of zoning requests. So we had a mode shift missing middle meeting the other night. And so we're kind of, a lot of us have been talking about this for a while, but like the density stuff really pulls people out of their backyards to come and talk about how, you know what NIMBY means? It's an acronym for not in my backyard. And so a lot of people will come and, get real riled up about the fact that, these density changes are probably going to mean, they will have folks that are renting in their backyard instead of, the character that they're used to, which character tends to be a little bit of a dog whistle. I'm going to make sure everybody is muted. Anyway, so the first several are about zoning requests. And then moving right along, items 15 and 16, it's not actually liquor license requests, but it's special applications for festivals. So there's 2 of them on here. One of them is at the Broke Down Palace. And the other is at the Shakedown Tavern, which is in Benson. What I thought was interesting about these is usually when they have requests like these, they will only allow music to end at like midnight, I think, or 11. I don't remember what the normal one is, but it usually doesn't go past midnight. And these are requests to go till 1 a.m. For both applications. So we'll see what happens with that. That's items 15 and 16. Then on to the consent agenda is items 17 through 20, which we already talked about because the public hearing already happened 2 weeks ago. So we won't really waste too much time on that. And there's no opportunity for public input. But then items 21 through 64, that's the consent agenda, which means if you want to talk about something that's in these different, in this big chunk of the agenda, you can actually go up to the microphone and say your name and address. You can also apply for an address waiver if you do it ahead of time by Monday at 4 o'clock, which that is all at the top of the agenda, the way to do that. But otherwise, you stand up at the microphone, you say your name and address and which item number you're speaking in opposition or support of. And then you have a few minutes, maybe lots of minutes, actually. Last week, we were talking about how now that Councillor Festerson is the president, he really doesn't hold people to that 3-minute time limit like Councillor Jerem always used to. So,
yeah, I think the new record is 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So
from 3, it used to be 3 minutes, and now it's like talk as much as you'd like. It's a free for all. So you could test that. But the things that jumped out, let me go back to my notes here. I guess a couple that I just like jokingly looked at was number 26 is for $420,000 for renovations on the 6th floor for Public Works. And I don't really know what all they're going to do. There weren't any details about what that $400,000+ was going to do for renovations, but I'm hoping it involves new staff. That's a joke. It won't happen, but I can wish. Number 28, basically Scott and I are like, you know, trying to find ways to not hate the agenda every week and like, oh, how can we just like make fun of these things? So
I think that cost is to build a bike lane through Public Works office. I think that's what it's for.
Brilliant. Again, a guy can hope. Here's hope. I like that one better, Manny. So we'll see. Again, it'll probably just get brushed right through and there won't be any discussion about it, but what were you gonna say?
No, I mean, Manny brings up a good, just to kind of turn it on them. Like we should get up there and talk about how this $420 is for the new bike lane and get them to say, no, there is no funding for bike lanes. Like to get them to be like, you're off topic. This is not funding for the bike lane. Be like, oh, just to get them to say those words, kind of like the yes men to kind of, I don't know, like a fake press release about a fake bike lane. Yeah. One of these
this
days.
is why we have to make it fun because otherwise it's just real depressing. All right. So all good ideas. You should all try them. All right. So then I was just wondering if, and I don't know if anybody on this call has any ideas about this, but number 28 is about some funding for Mecca. They have an issue with, I guess, a sewer backflow prevention project. And I'm wondering if it has anything to do with the last storm. Probably not. I just think it's interesting that Mecca, I don't know, Mecca has a bunch of money and I think they should pay their own stuff, but it is, I suppose, you know, sewer backflow. I just have a question mark as to why are we paying for things that involve Mecca when they have plenty of money, but.
Well, and Mecca though has this weird quasi public-private status that we as voters, not myself as a voter, but as the whole people approved, that it is not transparent how they use and spend their money, but the city is part of the mix. And so we're all we all are contributing to it without being able to see how they spend it.
Thank you. Yes, excellent point. Well put. Anybody else want to talk about Mecca before we move on to Public Works parking lot? All right, cool. Well, then we're going to talk shit about Public Works and their parking lot. I just thought it was kind of funny. So this is item number 29, which ends up being actually about $280,000 to, which the math didn't add up because on the agenda, if you just look at the agenda item, it says like $69,000. But then when you go into the actual attachment, it ends up, it's actually a $280,000 allotment for a parking lot. And it's at the Public Works facility on 50th and G, and they were going to try to expand their parking lot and then not put a sidewalk on G Street, it looked like. And then planning was like, whoa, pump the brakes, we're going to need you to put a sidewalk in. So then I added a few more bucks that there was a little bit of back and forth. But the thing that I kind of, again, I read way too many pages into the attachment on that one, but what it made me remember that was maybe helpful to bring up for some folks, if you're ever interested in like finding a specific person in Public Works or seeing who does what, if you scroll through the attachments, there's so many different players at Public Works that have little different pieces to add to these projects. So if you ever needed someone's email address or contact information or want to know who's doing what, if you scroll through some of these attachments, there's a lot of information in them. And that goes for, planning as well. If there's, just depends on what the item is. But if you do dive into the attachment just by clicking the link that's within the agenda item, you can get nerdy and then you can find information. Sometimes it's helpful. But yeah, they're again spending almost $300,000. Anytime there's like a number near $300,000, I'm like, that's how much the bike lane costs. And now here they are spending it on parking. All right. Speaking of big numbers, there's just, we've brought this up before, but once again, there's a lot of money for sewer bond stuff. This one's for another lift station, but over $3 million in sewer bonds. But there's a lot of sewer stuff. There's a lot of ways that if anybody does want to bring up like environmental issues or something about the flood, you could tie it back into, the sewer situation.
Or just the amount of sewage that we put into the Missouri River every year.
Also that, yeah. Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as usual, feel free to hop in. I know we have someone else, a couple people here that are interested in environmental stuff. So no such thing as a silly question, jump right in. For those of you that are new, you have to, the reason we're bringing up like, you could, if you wanted to talk about environmental concerns, you could talk about it with this sewer issue or stormwater, whatever, is because anytime you speak at city council on Tuesdays, you have to speak about an agenda item. You can't just stand up there and say, I want to talk about how Omaha doesn't have a climate action plan, because they should, and it's ridiculous. But if you can't find a way to tie it into the agenda, you actually are going to be called out of order, like Larry, who's this weird old man who's at almost every city council meeting and spews racist bullshit and is real weird. But he likes to also point out, well, we weren't going to go down the Larry hole, but anyway, you have to keep it on topic. So I
feel like that's what we should call city council, is the Larry hole.
The Larry hole. As soon as I said Larry hole, I was like, that came out wrong. That's gross.
How does something get on the agenda?
That's a great question. I think that a lot of times it comes from like one of the departments. So like Public Works wants a new parking lot, so they are going to put together this proposal. It usually has to go through the mayor because she has to sign off on a lot of this stuff. And also sometimes city council members can bring agenda items. Who else knows how many other ways that things can get onto the agenda? That's a great question. And I don't know the depth of the answer.
It's like whatever the mayor wants something, or whatever the city council.
I think department heads can also put things on the agenda. I don't really know the exact process, but that would be a good thing to learn.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, Brad.
It'd be nice to have citywide composting and stuff, and like, I don't know, something to return our nutrients back to soil. I recently learned that that's like an issue everywhere, and I don't know like why it wouldn't be a thing for the city to like pretty easily do that. So
yeah, I definitely agree, and I think that's a good idea. Unfortunately, the city of Omaha does not always appreciate good ideas, and it's really like pulling teeth sometimes to get even the most simple things that seem very commonplace in other communities and whatnot to get implemented here. But I'm super glad you're on the call, because we can probably give you email addresses of people to start asking these questions of, and the more they hear from us, the more they will have to listen to us, and eventually they will have to change. Yeah, so thanks for being here. All right, moving right along. Oh, okay. This brings me to an idea that I think is a good one that, probably won't happen in Omaha, but some places are doing it. Number 33 is over $4.6 million for bridge repairs over 75 North. There's some radical conversations happening around the country about tearing down interstates instead of rebuilding them. And I think that, maybe this would be a good time to start talking about that. I feel like also a while ago, there was some conversation about how the state wanted to turn over kind of the north end of Highway 75 back to city purview, because right now it's a state highway. So between that conversation and this over $4 million they're spending on bridges over this thing that has destroyed countless, not countless, there's a number. And Manny, I know you do a lot of work along that road and in that area. If you want to hop in and tell us any more about it, go ahead. But I think we should tear it down.
If you want to know some numbers, like 2/3 of the population was displaced. So 1,100 homes and then 3,300 people were displaced at just the highway itself, but then over time, as they demolished houses next to the highway, 2/3 of the population left. So there's a third there today compared to what it was back in the late 50s, 60s, early 60s. So there's that part. As far as like the money itself, I'm not gonna lie, like unless they're gonna like actually take it out or cap it, which is another thing that people talk about with the highways, I mean, might as well keep the bridges from falling down.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No one wants bridges falling down, but I'm just saying if they're falling down anyway, let's take a cue from Mother Nature and just take it all the way down and reconnect the neighborhoods and
yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. It's one of those, probably never happened things, but we are hearing conversations about it, and it's happening elsewhere.
There's a lot of conversations around it happening, especially in North Omaha. So
Yeah.
it is a good time to, another opportunity, like you said, to, talk about it.
Suggest it. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Oh, and it's just FYI, it's between about Hamilton and Fort Street. So that stretch, pretty much all those bridges, including the pedestrian bridge along there. So
it's Hamilton Street.
Yeah.
No, but so the bridge goes over the interstate.
Correct.
So that would be a city street over a state highway.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, tear it down.
Tear it down. This is team tear it
down. They got to tear down the highway, and maybe.
I feel like don't tear it down. Just build on top of it, make it a tunnel, and then everybody wins. Well, not everybody, but it's better than what it is now.
So many good ideas. Yes, that awesome.
Or make an 8-lane bike trail. Or make the North Omaha Trail 8 lanes wide.
Sweet.
All right. Works for me.
Yeah. Okay. Another kind of, transportation oriented thing is item number 39, which is the Transit Authority tax rate. So that is what funds Metro before it expands to a regional transit authority. And as always, this is my understanding. And if anyone has other information, hop in and correct me or add to it or whatever. But I know that Nebraska ranks in the bottom 15 of states as far as like our per capita spending on transit. And it's because what they're about to vote on Tuesday would be 4.731 cents out of every $100 in property taxes. Such a pitifully small number on something that could really help so many people. So that, I don't really know what type of leeway there is now. I doubt this is one of those things where we could stand up and be like, that's not enough, and they would change it. But just so y'all are aware, it's item number 39. So yeah, it's pitifully small number, but hopefully there is movement with the Metro Next. They're moving towards figuring out how to get ready for this regional transit authority situation, which passed at the state level a couple years ago. But it doesn't seem like there's a lot of movement happening locally with it. But their Metro Next stuff with expanding other potentially orbit lines or just improving transit on North 24th Street. It looks like their next priority corridor. But yeah, there's not a lot of money currently for public transit.
And so when they say transit, that means bus mainly?
I think so.
Public transit, not like
Metro,
people driving in cars.
Yeah, I think so.
And just and also, I know this is not on the agenda, but Metro is going to start charging Orbit. Did that already happen?
Nope, the end of the month. So ride Orbit free through the end of the month. And then if you're a student, K through 12 or a UNO student, you can still ride it free with your student credentials. But no, then they have this UMO system, which you can either use your cell phone or a card, like a smart card system. And you can still pay cash at the stop and you'll get a ticket that you can use once you get on the bus. Because part of the thing with Orbit is the R stands for rapid, which in order to keep it rapid, they don't want to have to be processing payment every time someone gets on. So on Dodge Street, that's the case. Oh, another little bus update. I got a text this morning from somebody saying that one of the Orbit buses has some issues with their bike racks. Inside, you can hang 6 bikes, and apparently the tall, because I don't know if any of you have ridden on the Orbit with your bike, but there's 3 that are like taller and then 3 that are shorter. So depending on the size of bike, you can choose which set you're going to hang your bike up on. And the tall set of 3 has been removed. And so I got someone sending me messages this morning worried about it. And it was on Reddit. Apparently a lot of people are freaking out. And so I messaged Metro, and it turns out it is only one bus, the number 1902. And they're just being repaired and then they'll be replaced. So just, a fun fact about Orbit for you. All right. Anybody else have any bus-related banter before we move right along?
If I could go back just to talking about the 75 freeway. Hey, Manny, when you are working on, doesn't the North Omaha Trail go on this right next to the 75 freeway?
Kind of loop through and over. And
did you have to get permission from the state or from the city?
From the state, because it's the state land.
Wow.
Yeah, it's technically state right away, which actually a lot easier than working with the city.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's interesting, and not, not terribly surprising that it's easier to work with the state than the city. All right. What else? Okay. I had to pour myself a glass of wine after reading number 40 and 41, which is another more than $3 million for police helicopters that they keep crashing. In 2019, they crashed 2 helicopters. In 2020, they bought another one, and then they now want another one. And so I just went deep into these attachments, and a few little depressing tidbits involved the price of cup holders, which is $735. So, okay. So first of all, they spend, I want to see what's happening about this police. Yes. The police helicopter. Okay. Thank you. I'm glad I'm not alone in getting super pissed about police helicopter money. So the first, let's see, 12.
No, 1.2.
Yeah. Okay. So over $1 million is for the aircraft itself. Then there's another 1.6 million in upgrades involving $63,000 worth of custom paint, leather seats for $30,000 as an upgrade, $1,900 for a carpet upgrade, and then $735 cup holders. Brian, before my head explodes, what would you like to contribute?
Is this helicopter separate than the one that was in the budget recently? Is this another new one?
That's a great question. This is the first time that I have seen it on a city council agenda. Are you talking about in the police budget that was just passed with the rest of the general budget?
I think it was in the CIP.
Okay.
It's the same one. This is just the council
spending the money.
Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you. It's absurd. And I feel like it is. We also know that anytime there's money earmarked in the CIP, it doesn't have to get spent. So we could hypothetically say, hey, we think this is too much money to be spending. And we know that CIP projects and expenditures come and go. And so this might be one where maybe let's not spend, or, maybe just don't spend $30,000 on leather seats. Maybe we could not do that. There's a lot of ways, if you go line by line with all of the, this much for this type of tracking device and this much for this type of infrared, blah, blah, blah. And it's a total of over $3 million for something that they're good at crashing. And it just bums me out. Yeah, I don't know.
And then go ahead, Mark.
Oh, just, do you know, sorry. Are all of these things upgraded? I see a rotor brake on here. I would hope it comes with one. I don't know anything about helicopters, but I'm just confused about how the document works.
I am also confused by that. And then, so I was thinking I was just going to be done being fussy about number 40, because that's the over 2 million. And then I got to 41, which is another $222,000 to prepare the helicopter. I'm you're going to spend over $3 million and it's not even ready to go. I just revert back to bike shop days. I'm there's no way I would ever sell someone something and then be oh, just kidding. This isn't actually ready to go. We're going to have to tack on another XYZ to actually make sure it's available. I don't know. It's blowing my mind. But yeah, I think a lot of that stuff, at least on the document that I was looking at with the line by line stuff, a lot of it was upgrades. So yeah, I don't know.
And then I feel like I think it was a Douglas County board meeting where there's a private helicopter company that does surveying and maybe even crop dusting. So I think it's somewhere in Douglas County, way out west. And they had to bring in, they just kind of like a liquor license. They had to notify anyone within 500, any neighbors within 500 feet. And they were talking about how helicopters are really loud, but they're not going to be operating at night. And then it just made me think about how we hear the helicopter. It seems like almost every night. And then I was looking on Twitter, and someone posted a aircraft, just an aircraft loop that aircraft tracker, and you can track the Omaha police helicopter. And I just looked at it earlier tonight. I've been thinking about trying to make a chart where basically overlays where does the helicopter circle every night, and just to show that, and also just to be like how it's a noise complaint. But who are you going to complain to? The police, that their helicopter is too loud and that it's
traumatizing.
It's scary. Yeah. I feel like it's sort of different when we sometimes see the helicopter above Saddle Creek going to the med center, and you kind of feel like, I don't know, I get a different feeling. I'm like, okay, I hope you get whoever's being medevaced, I hope you do okay. But when the helicopter is just circling and not, sometimes I remember there was one where there was a domestic violence on the Omaha scanner, and the helicopter was above. It's like, what is a helicopter going to do up there besides freak everyone out and just like, and be loud and waste tons of money? I think it costs $400. Was it $400 an hour? Or something like $70 a minute.
More than that.
Yeah, we looked up how much it costs per minute. It's absurd. They should just be throwing money out.
That would be more helpful if they sprinkled money to the neighborhoods that they freaking circle and harass. Anyway, whatever. I just got real angry about these item numbers. And there is money for training in that as well. It's like 135,000 of the over 3 million is training. So it's like, maybe we just spend money on, no, I don't know. I don't really get excited about spending money on training either, but I don't think we need all this. All right, moving right along. Oh yeah, we have just some quotes from stories about this helicopter bullshit, but we'll just keep going. Okay, item number 42 is an agreement to become friends with the city in Italy. That was a nice rebound from the police helicopters, yay, friendship. At this point, Scott and I were giddy and trying to make ourselves enjoy life again. And so we were talking about how there'll be bonus points if Palermo says any certain words spumoni.
Or paisan.
Yeah.
And I even thought about going up and testifying and being like, hey, there's a small pool that if you say any of the magic words, it's going to pay out big. So I'm looking at you, Palermo. Don't let me down, just to try and make it almost I don't know if you guys remember Pee-wee Herman had the magic word. And if anyone said the magic word, we were thinking everyone in the audience could go and just all get called out of order, but just something to make us laugh because we get so bummed out. So we're looking forward to number 42.
Yeah.
Spumoni.
Here's hoping.
What's the name of the city again?
I just said Italian city. Let me find it really quick. 42.
Carlentini.
Thank you. Yes, Carlentini.
Carlentini.
My grandpa's. Back off.
Say that again.
I said that's where my grandpa was from. So back off.
Oh, cool. Oh, it's nothing against it. It's just us trying not to cry all the time about police funding. It's oh, yay, let's be friends with the city. That sounds much more pleasant than terrorizing our neighborhoods. Great idea. But okay, then, Mark, if you had to pick a word that Palermo might say, what's it going to be? All right, that's fine.
I don't know if it was Mark, that was his grandfather. He was
yeah, it was.
It's really tiny. I'm just looking at it on the map. It's interesting to look at it on a map. Or maybe it's not that tiny. It's just really dense. Yeah, it's just really dense.
That's what it means. It means little Lentini. Little Lentini. Lentini is a different.
Nice. Okay, that's awesome. This is literally the best piece of the agenda so far. I'm yeah, I'm learning things. It's happy.
And we actually I already created a city council bingo. And it had words like affordable housing. Larry was the center square, which is basically a freebie.
Because he talks every week.
So yeah, we might swap out
we need
spumoni
to update
or any kind of Italian slang.
you should add in Melton talking about her service for the lawyers, since she's going to talk about it every week.
Okay, we're going to actually get to Melton, but that's a great point because, yes, she is very proud of herself, which great. You know what? Like, that is a good thing to be excited about because that is very helpful and very impactful. And like, if she wants to get jazzed about it, I am here for it. That's helpful. And so like, great.
Yeah, because the bingo card used to have a Chris Jerem joke, so it hasn't been updated since Jerem.
Yeah, that's
because Jerem always liked to make jokes, so
yeah,
I replaced that with Melton patting herself on the back.
Yeah, reasonable. Which this is a great segue actually into items number like 43 through 60 something. Like the rest of the I think the rest of this consent agenda is all about appointments to boards and such. And Scott was doing some digging when it comes to Melton and
sure.
Here, well, take it away, sir. Tell us what you
so geez, this would have been 2-3 weeks ago. I was going through and there was the mayor made a new appointment. It was actually a replacement on the personnel board. I still cannot find out why she got rid of Dr. Susan Ward. She had just been on the personnel board since January, was supposed to be on for another 4 or 5 years. And so she got replaced by, I forget the person's name, but when I Googled the person's name, she was an employee at Melton's law firm. And I thought for sure that Melton would have abstained
from the vote
because she abstains, she abstains quite a lot. Whenever there is, usually it's someone applying for a liquor license, and if her law firm is representing the applicant, she will abstain. I think she abstained from one 2 weeks ago, and the week before that. It's very common for her to abstain because of her connection with the law office. And so I was surprised when she did not abstain when one of her employees at the law office was applying for the personnel board. Or she wasn't applying. She was appointed by the mayor. And so I dug a little bit deeper at the Nebraska Accountabilities Disclosures website. And in 2019, Amy Melton abstained when her sister, Teresa Thibodeau, was appointed to the same personnel board. So that's a twofer. And what I mean by that is there doesn't need to be financial benefit or because I think the personnel board is an unpaid position, but also for those of you paying attention, Danny Begley, I've been still trying to find out that when the Nebraska Accountability, when they say a conflict with family, what does immediate family mean? We understand it to obviously be husband, wife, mother, father, children, but does it include siblings? And so when Amy Melton abstained because her sister, Teresa Thibodeau, was appointed to the personnel board, so that gives me my answer right there. So that means that whenever there would be anything related to the MUD, because James Begley, Danny's brother, is on the MUD board, he's just got conflicts of interests galore. And so it includes anything with OPPD, MUD, and the NRD. Those are just the three that I can come up, and there's many, many more. And so kind of keeping with that, jumping ahead to number 65, there's going to be a Union Pacific. Union Pacific is on the city council agenda. And every time Union Pacific is mentioned, Councilmember Johnson abstains. So Councilmember Johnson knows what to do.
Brand new, knows how the rules work. Melton's been there for a long time.
And I'm pretty sure Melton messed up. So I'm working on an email to the NADC because citizens can complain and she can get a fine. And so I thought I'm pretty sure she missed it. And I'm sure,
especially for the exact same position, she like recused herself years ago. Like that's somewhere. I mean, it wasn't congruent. So
yeah, if it's a family, personal, or employees, and man, any time that her law office is involved with any liquor licenses, she abstains. And so one of her employees was up for an appointment. That's a clear conflict. She should have. I bet you she just didn't read the agenda, or she doesn't know how many people work at her law office. It's going to be one or the other, but I think it's a clear a clear conflict that she missed. So
we'll keep it
I'll
posted.
let you know. Yeah.
The things we get excited about over here, I tell you, it's very exciting. All right.
But some other appointments, and I don't know if Lori Bartle's still on. They're doing an appointment to the Public Art Commission. A guy named Tyler Kearneys.
I saw that, and sorry to be a bitch about this, Scott, but you got to use my whole name. It's last name's Elliot Bartle.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's not
okay.
You being a bitch. That's you telling us.
Sorry, I'm a hard ass about that one. So he has been on the art commission for a time already, and he's the glass blower guy who has the gallery and studio space in Elkhorn, Old Town Elkhorn. I think a friend of mine, Rachel Mindrup, was on the Public Art Commission for several years. She's just she's ending her term on that commission. And she, she told me that, he seems very earnest. He's not super political. He doesn't really know that much about the political scene or honestly the Omaha art scene, but I think he's a well-intentioned small business owner in Elkhorn who, I think his intentions are good. I don't have a problem with him.
I was noticing that you can go to the mayor's office, current openings for positions, and it's the Public Arts Commission has 5 vacancies. And so, I saw he was on it, and then it was only on for 6 months. But man, there's a lot of.
Can I just make a comment? I wasn't going to talk about this art commission appointment, except I thought about it earlier today when I read through the agenda. And they just don't have any diversity. I'm just going to be honest.
Yes.
They don't have any.
Yes.
They have none.
Right.
So
there's no diversity, Manny, but there's also absolutely no power. I mean, they can make no decisions about there's no money. So basically all they do is people bring them projects and they say, can we list this project that somebody else is paying for in your public art database? That's all they do.
They don't have they're not like the planning board where if someone wanted to do a public art piece, they have to go through the Public Art Commission and then they recommend or don't recommend it to city council.
No, the only thing they decide is whether it can be be listed as a public art piece. They have it's not like they're acting as a juror in an art show, exhibit, or competition. All they do is decide whether it gets that stamp of approval to be in the public art list.
I mean, I still think that it's ridiculous that it's all white people. I even, on the
absolutely
ID,
I should have said that first. I'm sorry. I should have said that first. Yes, it's gross that it's all white people.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But they also don't do jack.
Yeah, I'm sure that's all true. I just feel like, the Benson BID, this is the next one where I have literally wrote, yay, 2 more rich white dudes appointed to the board, because the BID board, which I was removed from, obviously still just cis white girl. I was removed by the mayor from the Benson BID board years ago. And I was replaced with a rich white developer, Chris Erickson, which nothing against him, but we just know who always gets the seats. And it's I don't know. I was actually talking to Scott, I don't know of, what did we say? Items 40 through 60. I wish we could figure out who every single one of these people are and just be like, do you realize that there's 99% white people here? This is ridiculous. And I think that it's something that I don't know. Until we start bringing things up like this to them and let them know that we're paying attention and that we're not into what they're doing. I don't know. It's just a bummer. I think that, I think it's stupid. And I think that we should challenge it and they're all mayoral appointments for the most part. And of course, that's, she doesn't know how to do many things well. I'll just shut up now. But yeah, it's a bummer. Scott was
Yeah, so in the Benson BID, it's the waiting room and the Benson Brewery. Looks like they're going to be added.
A Jim and a Joe.
And then I did a quick search to compared to the North 24th Street BID, the Blackstone BID, Elkhorn BID. The Benson one only has 4 members. And so Sarah was saying that there isn't a limit to how many they can have. But that she said that Dundee does not have a BID. So, but right now Benson, it only has 4. And it's basically Ted and Wally's, Block 59, and then TAC Architectures, which is Councilmember Harding's wife, Rebecca Harding, and then the person that replaced Sarah at City Ventures, Chris Erickson. But the North 24th Street BID has 2 members that are going to expire in November. Blackstone has 2 that are going to expire in December. And I think there's a couple on this agenda for Elkhorn that are either getting renewed. But I found this really interesting page of basically openings, positions that are open on the city of Omaha. And it just tells you when when these positions are open. So I guess we could apply. Is that how it happens? Yeah. So I don't know, maybe, I don't think any of us should apply necessarily, but I feel like this is how Colleen Brennan got appointed to the Douglas County I forget whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember property something. Yeah.
Does anybody know what has come of the land bank appointment that Ben Gray didn't get?
It's still open. I think it's District 2. I'm almost positive. I just saw it on the openings page. It's still open. So I think it didn't. It
was a stalemate.
It got it kept going 4-3. They never got that 5th vote for the supermajority.
So I think did she just give up on it? And
it's still open. And I think they're looking. I think District 1. I think every district gets a land bank person, and I think District 1 is also coming up. But the current, I believe District 2 is currently available. Exciting stuff.
Yes. All right. Okay, so that's the end of the consent agenda. And then like we talked about, 65 is the UP situation that Councillor Johnson will probably not vote on. And then the non-action items, 66 through 89 are going to be happening, it's kind of the end of what's happening this coming Tuesday. But there will be public hearings and votes on the following Tuesday, September 21st for some of these things. And so we just kind of zoomed through some of them. And there's more. Well, first of all, number 74 is a TOD application. And it is about a redevelopment kind of behind, I'm just going to say behind the Chipotle, because I feel like most people know where the Chipotle is on 72nd and Dodge. It's actually just a little bit southeast of 72nd and Dodge. And so it is basically, there's already, we talked about the NIMBY situation. There's already a woman who's like, it's going to obstruct my view. It's like, well, probably is. But it is recommended for approval by the planning board. So we will see what happens with that. So that's number 74. And then number 79 is actually a TIF request, but it involves affordable housing at 19th and Farnham. So that was kind of cool. Just over $2 million requested in TIF help for 59 units. And then it also includes a rehab of a National Historic Registry building at 19th and Farnham. And that's going to be repurposed as a mixed use building with 54 low income housing tax credit funded apartments on the upper floors, and commercial space and a speakeasy bar in the basement. Anywho, yeah, Sydney, do you want to share your feelings about car washes and whatnot? I know you said you're just listening, so.
No, I'm listening, but no, I don't want to share. Other than where in the hell is all the water going to go, and where is the water coming from? Are they going to reuse, or is it just like wastewater? Maybe that's why they're having storm sewer separations. I don't know.
So they can power all their car washes. We could only hope. I don't think that's it, but who knows? I hope I'm wrong. And yes, so TIF for good, that's exciting. And then there's also, not only was 79 TIF with some affordable units, but also number 80 was the expansion of the Highlander project off of 30th Street there. And that's about $1.5 million TIF request. And that's going to be 108 residential units and anywhere from studio to 5 bedrooms. So I thought that was kind of cool. 33 of them are market rate, 37 for 30% area median income. The thing I did not like though, 108 total units, 109 parking stalls. Like why I'm just like real bent out of shape about parking minimums and just parking in developments these days. I think that's the end of the official city council notes that we had. Does anybody have anything they want to say before we jump to some just like other news stuff that's happening that we had on our little list to talk about? Where was the last apartment area? So item 79 was apartments and mixed use and whatnot at 19th and Farnham. And the other one is on North 30th Street, the Highlander, which is like 30th and I want to say Burdett-ish, just a little bit north of Lake. So yeah. All right. Just some other stuff. I saw a little bit of it talking about in the chat, but something that we also noticed or wanted to talk about was the library situation, about how, I mean, Stoller's been talking about wanting to ditch the downtown library for a long time and do something different with it so that she can have more developable land. But there's also been a vacant lot there for a long time that hasn't been developed. So I feel like she need to start knocking more building down for more empty lots. But then there's, you know, the Heritage Services piece where they already are like identifying that they would be the perfect partners to redevelop this. There was talk about bringing the library to 72nd, like kind of 72nd and Dodge area. But I do really hope, and I one of my friends is on the library board, and she was saying how even though the mayor said that, you know, there isn't going to be another downtown library, I think that they have recognized and realized that yes, there should continue to be a downtown library. Maybe it's not the main branch, but just to like completely rip everything library wise out of downtown is not reasonable. So anybody else have 2 cents they want to throw in about libraries? Other than, yes, we should have them, and no, we don't need library robots. That's my thought. Yeah, I feel you, Lori. So many feelings, can't even talk about it. Heritage Services owns property from the 2 space to 5 guys. Interesting. Yeah, so Heritage Services probably, yeah, I don't know. It's the same people with all the money that make all the decisions for Omaha, and then they act like public input's important, but the dog is sneezing. But they've probably already made up their minds, and then they just, you know, check the boxes for public input. I hope I'm wrong. I always hope I'm wrong. We'll see. Anything else library wise? All right, Scott wants to talk about the World Herald and how it continues to hemorrhage reporters aside from Huskers.
Yeah, so Reese Rastu, I don't know how to say it. Reese Reports is no longer at the World Herald. I don't know if he resigned or he was let go, but he put it on Twitter and he said he's done with local journalism, that he's going to take a break from local journalism. But that's man, I was like, with Reese being gone, he was basically the only person that was consistently, I say, from the World Herald. And I kind of joke about institutional knowledge and just sort of keeping them accountable. And without Reese, the World Herald I don't think they're not going to be covering city council anymore. I mean, they might be watching the live stream. But I subscribe to the World Herald's YouTube channel. They've got 7 reporters talking about the Huskers: Sam McGowan, Aaron Carricker, Dirk Chatlin, Tom Shattle, on and on and on. They got 7.
Scott, it probably used to be 25 on the Huskers. and 2 on the city council. I totally agree with you that it is heartbreaking for me to see how that newspaper has gone downhill. I mean, we moved here in 1994, and I have friends who still work for the World Herald, God bless them. But it is a shadow of its former self. And I'm still pissed off at Warren Buffett for not buying it and creating a nonprofit model to allow it to continue as a legitimate journalistic enterprise, because it is not really that anymore, and it makes me so sad. And so I guess and just seeing more people leave just reinforces that. I am kind of interested in seeing what the Flatwater Free Press folks do.
Yeah.
I love seeing Noise, making noise. They're like, I follow them pretty closely. I mean, there are people doing the work, but to not have a reliable daily newspaper is just bizarre to me. And I know I'm showing my age by saying that, but it's just like, it's weird.
I agree. I know it's a bummer. I have a journalism degree and I appreciate journalism because that's what helps keep people accountable. And, it's a weird thing to watch. I mean, the other person who's doing some city council reporting is Anton from the Reader.
Up until like a week ago, he was their intern.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. He's definitely there and he live tweets it. But I think one of the things that we're losing with Reese is, I mean, he'd only been at the paper maybe 5 years. But we're just losing that historical knowledge of.
That's exactly right. It's so important to have that institutional memory, that longer term focus. And, it's heartbreaking.
When Colleen Brennan got appointed, and I was using the World Herald archive to go back and see, had they ever not done interviews before? Had the outgoing member ever voted before, which they had not. Council member Pauls was the first, and I believe voted illegally. But when you don't have the newspaper that's someone there that remembers all these things, I want to say Todd Cooper might have been reporting on city council, 10, 15 years ago.
He did cops for a long time. He might have been on city council at one point too, though.
But now it's just like, I honestly feel like Sarah has been going to city council since at least 2009. So just as a casual observer, like she has memories that the World Herald doesn't even have now. And so, I feel like, and yes, Kate, and yes, the news is usually there. We see Channel 3 there a lot with the cameras, but just newspaper reporting I still hold it. I put it up on a pedestal above TV. And I know Aaron Sanford is now with Channel 3. But it's just, it's heartbreaking to hear Reese going. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not sleeping well these days, so I'm just yawning at all of you. But it's a bummer.
It might be part of the brain drain. So
brain gain.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Stother was asked about people leaving Omaha, and she said, "I like to call it brain gain."